I am delighted to invite Megha Malagatti from Estée Dupont and Rania Masri from Chalhoub Group. As well, I did something. Yeah. As well as Claire Demergue from Luxus Plus. Please have your seats and we will give you the microphones now. So the project started actually when we were preparing this conference. We were thinking, actually, what are the subjects? We're talking about sustainability, we are talking about digital transformation, but what about the companies and how can they actually make our society better? And the very first thing that we were thinking, actually, women. Why on earth 70% of the employees of an X group are women on the store level and only 11% are on the board level? So we decided as INSEAD, the business school, to invite and to actually present to you the case studies of exceptional women who have global careers, very cross-border experiences. So Megha Malagatti from Estée Dupont and Rania Masri from Chalhoub Group. With Rania, actually, we did the startup bootcamp, as I mentioned, and Rania was already the speaker at the INSEAD Abu Dhabi campus. And Claire Demergue, who is actually the partner of the project and who is going to produce the videos after this conference of women who are actually taking the stage. And then we will share these videos about their personal experiences as professionals in the luxury industry. So in order to be quick myself, I would like to start with Claire. Claire, could you please give us a bit of a background and the insights on the situation of women in luxury and retail?
Of course. Hi, everybody. So Luxus Plus is very happy to support this project, Women in Luxury, because this is an issue that we are studying each year in Les Cahiers, the luxury journals, which is published by Luxus Plus. And actually, one of my favorite surveys is made by the Femina Index, which is an index realized by a teacher at HEC, which is called Michel Terrari. So I had to mention actually the figures that he published in the last edition of the Femina Index. Actually, we can notice first that among these femina, there are 15 companies which are represented, which have been recruiting more than 55% of women in managing positions. And actually, if we compare this index, this Femina Index, to the classical index in the stock exchange, we can observe one point which is very important in terms of growth. This point is that these companies in this Femina Index grew of 60% more than the others company. So among these companies, these 15 companies in the Femina Index, actually you have only 5 companies, which is not so bad from the luxury sectors, which are LVMH, Kering, L'Oréal, and I'm forgetting one, Hermès, which is the best actually position in this index. So I would like just to say this point because, of course, in terms of ethics, this is an important point to recruit women not only in your general staff, but in managing position, because it's something very important in terms of vision for your company, but also in terms of profitability. This is the point that this index is actually showing. So just to finish about this point, if we can explain this phenomenon, it can simply be explained by the fact that, and especially in luxury, the consumers are first women. So of course, to understand them, it's important to recruit some executive women in the luxury field, and more than the average, even more. And of course, the fact also to recruit some executive women show a kind of diversity in the way you're managing your employees. So it is something very important. So that's why we are so happy to support this project and to make this report today about women in luxury.
I agree completely with you, Claire. And speaking about the employment, Mega, could you please share with us your story? How did you manage to move from an engineering background from India to one of the most heritage French brands, Estate Dupont?
Thank you, Katia. It's a pleasure to be here in this beautiful, gorgeous room. I think I would say that I never wanted to be an engineer from the beginning. And as most Indian families do, they push their children into either becoming an engineer or a doctor. And I was pushed into being an engineer. But it did give me a lot of learnings because I was working on one of the most important projects at that time, which was building the pan-Indian telemedicine solutions with Cisco Systems and Apollo Group of Hospitals, where we had cutting-edge technologies connecting the cities with the villages, and the doctors could treat patients online. So this was something which was completely, it existed, but not at this scale. And learning with the industry experts at a very young age, I was very lucky, to be mentored by them. And I learned how to build effective business plan. And at age 29, the management changed in the company, and then I was questioning myself, I never wanted to be an engineer, so what's my next step? And I was thinking, well, an MBA at 29 is not bad, and it's the perfect age. And after that, I was thinking, let me go back and revisit my childhood passions, and fashion was definitely at the top of the list. And that's when I decided, fashion, what comes to your mind? Paris. And voila, I decided to come to Paris. And at that time...
Did you speak French, right?
No, I didn't. No, wow. I didn't. And at that time, it was the first time I ever visited Paris. I never visited Europe before. It was just in televisions and movies that, I had seen Paris. And the first thing, I still remember 7 years ago, my first day when I entered the city, I was positively intimidated of how beautiful the city was, and it still is. And then I did my MBA at ESSEC, and then I realized that, I never imagined this either, that I would get a job in Paris. I did, at Estate Dupont, and especially when you get a job in Paris, you take it. And that's what I did. And the transition was not very easy, I would say, because, as you said, one of the most difficult part is languages, integration. And I also, kind of connect with what Christian said in the morning, because coming from an engineering background, you're like, luxury, why is it so expensive? What is this history? What is this heritage? These were pretty much the same questions that came into my mind.
And what helped you, actually? Did you have some mentors in the company that actually helped you to understand, the heritage and the DNA of the luxury brand?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I remember someone telling me once that, when you arrive in a new country, it's not you, it's you have to adapt and not the other way around. Sure. So this is extremely, extremely important, being adaptable to the new environment you come into. And to do that, of course, you need mentors. And I have various mentors in different ways. One of them, to start with, definitely my father, who's going to be my lifelong mentor. And professionally, I definitely have, our CEO over here, Mr. Alain Crevet, who was my mentor in my school as well. And Sharon Flood, who was our chairwoman of the board. And she still chairs quite a few boards in London. And I even have Munir Mufarij, who's an international citizen. He doesn't have one place to stay, but he's been in the luxury industry for a long time.
What exactly these people did to you?
Sorry?
That was not a ring. So what exactly these people, how did they help you? So mentorship, what is that for you?
It comes in different ways. For example, of course, Sharon was involved in definitely empowering me as a woman, and she did understand it a lot because she herself is a Londoner, and I'm an Indian coming to France, a totally new change of country, a totally new change of career. So I think she did help me in terms of how to be a very good executive woman at this level. So she really helped me with that. Then coming to our CEO, Mr. Creve, he definitely helped me in terms of understanding the codes of luxury. How do you actually build and how do you actually preserve the heritage of the brand? And how do you make the brand live also more? Yeah. And of course, Munir, who is, I think, he is one of the, in a positive way again, the craziest person I've seen because he comes with these ideas which are incredible, and although he's quite experienced gentleman, when he has an idea you can see a twinkle in his eyes, and the way it needs to be executed, the way it needs to, evolve, and how do you actually build a team accordingly to take it forward. So there are different ways that, my mentors have helped me.
And Rania, you are a fantastic woman. You are managing the entire digital transformation of a huge company. So what about your mentors? Did you have mentors? Because you came from the retail, background, right? You started in the store, right? So I know that you are mentoring yourself, that you have wonderful ladies working with you in your team. So could you please explain to us what is mentorship for you and how it helped you to actually move forward with your career?
Thank you. First, I'm just going to correct you because I'm not heading the digital transformation, I'm heading the transformation, business transformation of the organization. So my background is far from being digital. And we'll talk about this a lot more this afternoon. But in the spirit of mentorship, I'll use the platform today to discuss how important it is to advance, our cause, which is women in the workplace, which is making sure that we create a platform that is very friendly for women and that encourages the growth. First, and I want to take this second to really congratulate Gilbert on what you put, and I posted it on Instagram, and I'm super excited to see senior leadership at 40%, and for a man to be standing proudly to present this as part of the sustainability is very honorable. For myself and within my career, I started I won't go into the details, but very much a Middle Eastern family that really wanted me in the typical law, engineering, or doctor. But I had a huge passion for retail, and I wanted to work on the side. I grew up in Canada, and I was working on the shop floor. I got very close to the consumer, and I always looked for mentors around me. I was very inspired by a Middle Eastern mother who was very entrepreneurial, very outspoken, and that started to give me a lot of confidence. I was very lucky to have her as a mentor to start with. However, most of my mentors then going through my career were men. And I don't necessarily, like to differentiate when it comes to mentorship, but to understand the value of my voice and to give me a platform to share my voice. As the example of Ortega that was shared earlier, it's very important to give this platform. It's very important for women in the workplace to give this platform to other women and to encourage them to speak, because not all organizations have friendly environment. Not all of organizations there's a lot of bias that still exists in organizations. There is still a lot of policies that have not reformed. I also like to add to that the fact that, and also mentioned earlier, the fact that organizations have a huge social responsibility in this because they're becoming, governments. They're becoming the size of governments. I was listening to the podcast of the Walmart CEO yesterday, and just discussing, just the turnover and the number of people and number of stores that they have represents close to, many governments in the world. So if we're going to wait for society to shift and if we're going to wait for policies to reform in order for us to advance our cause in organizations, then we can wait for a very, very long time. So within this, I think I am where I am today because I was very picky by who I worked for, by which mentors I chose to be my mentors, because mentors don't just come to you, you have to go to them, and by myself paving my way across the right organizations with the right environment.
So are you a good mentor yourself?
Am I a good mentor? I believe I love to mentor. I believe that this, I would have to say, comes maybe from my feminine side. I like to manage as a mother. I am a mother of two. And if you would have asked me this maybe 12 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have been shy to say this because you're always told to manage like a man and to, but really listening to other women celebrate their womanhood, their soft side, and that makes you a very good mentor. And again, as women, we're also, and as mothers, we're, very strong at multitasking. That also comes, as a strength in leadership within the organization. So we manage differently, and that diversity is very important. Doesn't make us better than men, but it's important.
Well, I can't but agree with everything that you have said, Rania, and I truly believe that you are a very good mentor because I have worked in projects with people who are working with you and they're very, very grateful to everything that you are doing. And Megha, coming back to the question, of the management. So you as an executive, when you're in the room with people who are slightly maybe older than you, so how do you behave? What do you do for them to listen?
That's a very good question.
I know.
Well, I became an executive at a very young age, and definitely for that...
What age were you?
I was 34, yeah.
I think also.
And as a young executive, I had to go through a training which was specifically defined for women, especially how do you empower women and how do you take decisions, how do you interact, how do you work, how do you lead teams. So this was a specific training that I went through for almost a year before and after getting my job description up there. And yes, there have been challenges, and I don't think that the challenges are only at the executive level. I think the challenges lie at every level for all women. And this we have seen, most of the women sitting over here can second me, that even when you have an idea, you have something to speak up, if you want to contribute, many times there are, I believe that there are like three kind of colleagues that you have, basically. One are the collaborative colleagues who listen to you, who work with you as, part of your projects, and they also help you grow and evolve as an individual. And these people can be men or women in the organization. They can be new in the company. They can be, working there for over 20 years, but it all depends on the mindset. And then you have the second kind of colleagues who are like indifferential colleagues. They come, they do their job, they don't impact you in any way, all right? They're also easy to work with. And then the third kind are very tough cookies. We call them the dinosaurs in the company. And they have been there forever in the company, and this is everywhere. And I'm sure you know, my colleagues on the pedestal can definitely second me as well. And they are really strong-headed, and they would not like to change. And these are the tough ones. And especially when you have to talk to them, you need to have what I say is an iron fist with a velvet glove. And here, I think one of my most inspirational person is definitely Margaret Thatcher, who did this in a very brilliant way in reshaping, the United Kingdom. And to do that, definitely you need to be patient. You need to listen. You need to be a very good listener. You need to also make sure that when you make a point, you make a point, but don't ever overdo it. You know, you just say firmly with factuals, you talk about what you want to present, and then step back and just let them process it. It takes time. And also, the most difficult ones are the passive-aggressive ones. So it's very, very important to grab their attention, bring them back to the point, hold their hands, and definitely it has been hard because you need to either work with them or you have to work around them. There is no with or without you kind of a thing over here. So, so at the end, I think all the three kind of colleagues that you work with definitely add value to you, and they help you build, help you become more stronger, become more confident, and help you also take good decisions if you're, if you know what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Megha, for such a sincere, I would say, description of the working space in luxury. As we are running out of time, so could you please give just your final, inspirational advice to women who are maybe starting or are in the middle of their career, and how is it possible, and I also would like to hear this advice, how is it possible to go to the board member level?
Raina, you want to start?
Well, I mean, my main advice is before I, became a C-level, if this is, if it's somebody's aspiration, because it doesn't necessarily have to be, an aspiration for somebody to make it on top ladder, is that I was always quite vocal. Really speak up on what you believe in and try to make a difference within your organization, because the bias that exists and the policies that are there because they were always there. If somebody's not going to make an effort to try to change the mind of some of the, the colleagues that make up these policies and these laws, if we don't speak, if we accept that there are sexist jokes that happens in meetings, if we accept that there isn't diversity that's being met, and if we don't speak about it, especially nowadays, which is so open, and it's, it's no longer a taboo, then we're not going to advance. So that's my advice to women in the workplace, because you need to also pave your way. Having said this, I still think there's a huge responsibility of CEOs of organizations to make a platform for these women to be able to grow, because it's a huge lost opportunity if you don't. So just resilience and courage and a lot of passion.
Thank you. Thank you, Rania. So Megha, the last word.
I think coming from a totally different background and a culture, it's very important for a woman to have self-confidence to start with, because the change always comes from within you. So you need to make sure that you have enough confidence, and and when you know what you're good at, you bring it to the table without any fear. And for this, you need to be strong, and I think most of the women, women are stronger than men, especially emotionally, and and also when you run a family, you play in as a mother, a sister, also a wife. So there are many different roles that you play, and mother is the one who actually holds the family together. So this is something that you need to realize, that you already have these qualities in you, within you. You have to just bring it out yourself and put it on the table. And like, I completely agree with what Rania mentioned, to voice up your, opinions, and to make sure that you're not afraid to talk about it.
Yeah, and actually we wrote a case study with INSEAD, and there is one of the case study writers who is in the room about Megha and her career change. So I invite you to check it online for further, story and the details about Megha's career. And also Rania will be giving a keynote speech in the afternoon, more on the professional side, about the digital transformation of Chalhoub Group. I'm correct now, right? So we are done now with the panel discussion. However, Claire will be doing this afternoon the videos of different protagonists that we will be sharing with you further after the conference. So please join me, and let's say thank you to our protagonists. Thank you very much.
so much, Katya.